Happy Monday, everybody. Making sure we're live. We are. Happy Monday and welcome to Vibrant Brain Monday. So our Vibrant Brain Mondays take place here in our Reboot Your Brain Inner Circle, although you may be seeing this on YouTube. And if you are and you'd like to join the Inner Circle, there's a link in the comments below this video. And Vibrant Brain Monday started with my intent to help set a habit for you, which is critical for your brain, which is every 90 minutes taking a breathe break where you walk away from what you've been concentrating on so hard and you shift your focus and your attention and you literally give your brain a chance to rest and shift its focus. And then you can go back to working hard on what you were working on before. So ideally, breathe breaks happen every 90 minutes. And on Mondays, we take this break together. And I am going to teach you a little something that can help you recharge the battery of your brain. And even though this is information that you're processing, it's going to be different when you listen to this video, different from what you were focused on and concentrating on during your day. So it still is a little bit of a breathe break. So as you come in, I would love to hear from you. Who wants to recharge the battery on their brain? Let me know. Give me a yes if that sounds good to you, but most importantly, give me a why. What do you want to recharge the battery on your brain for? What are you going to do with a freshly charged brain? What do you have planned? What's going on? Like, what are you excited about in your life right now? I would love to hear, because all this health and wellness information is only as good as what you put it to practice for, and that is for your joyful, meaningful life that you love. So, okay, I'm going to dive into how do we recharge the battery on our brain? Well, we do this through making sure that you have sufficient minerals. Minerals are vital to every function in our body and our brain. They're as essential for bodily function and brain function as air and water. And without the proper mineral levels, you can't regulate any of your metabolic processes. So not only is this going to recharge your brain, but recharge your metabolism and your metabolic processes. So our minerals, they do so many things. I'll just name a few. They give elasticity to our bones and to our ligaments. And they really aid, and this is where the brain piece comes in. Minerals aid in the electrical currents being transmitted throughout the body and including to and from the brain. So that's where minerals are like a battery. Without minerals, we can't have those electric currents communicating between the brain and the body and vice versa. So minerals are essential for brain-body communication, and they fill the role of what a battery would for an electrical current. This is the battery for the electrical current of our brain and of our body. And as humans, we don't actually produce minerals, so we have to obtain this from the outside through our food, which is largely affected by our soil. And unfortunately, our soil on this planet is becoming more and more mineral depleted all the time. So it means we need to pay attention and take matters into our own hands. There are over 108 different elements, elemental minerals and other elements, but 18 are essential. And I'm going to break things into some macro minerals and micro minerals, also known as trace minerals. But in general, minerals, they comprise 4% of our body, and they're needed as cofactors. In addition to what I've already mentioned, they're needed as cofactors for enzyme production, for hydrochloric acid production, which is our stomach acid production, that is essential for digestion and depleted in a large majority of the clients that I work with. Most of my clients are low in hydrochloric acid, and it's most likely the case for many of you, if not all of you listening in. And in order to make that hydrochloric acid, among other things, we need good mineral levels. Minerals also assist us in balancing the pH in our body, and they facilitate nutrient transfer across the cell membrane. So nutrition can only get into our cells and get through the membrane with the assistance of minerals. Minerals also contract and relax our muscles, and they assist in nerve connections. So if you're having any kind of misfiring of your nerves, neuropathy, and any kind of nerve issues at all, minerals are very fundamental to successful nerve connection. So I mentioned there's macro minerals and there's micro, which we call trace. And macro are things like calcium and phosphorus and potassium, sulfur, sodium, and chloride. And then micros are the ones I'm going to talk about today, which are trace minerals, include zinc and magnesium. There's many others. Before I go into more in depth on macro and micro, and especially I'm going to end this training, as I always do, with bite-sized steps that you can start today. Things you can do easily, readily, anybody can do, it's safe for anybody to do, and that you could start today. But first, I want to get your attention to how to know that you might be deficient in minerals. So very common signs of mineral deficiency are chronic fatigue, headaches, dry skin, brittle nails, depression, paranoia, and obesity. Those are, it's not a cumulative list. It's not every single deficiency, because when you're talking about something that affects every metabolic process, there's a lot of signs of deficiency, but those are really common and classic signs of mineral deficiency. So in the macros, I talked about a list of macro minerals, and I want to talk in particular a little bit more depth about sodium or salt, as well as about calcium. So salt, let's start there, because there's such misconceptions about salt, right? We got on this salt scare that's really similar to the fat scare that happened back in the 90s. And I just want you to know that even in JAMA, in the Journal of American Medical Association, in 2010, they published a very conclusive study that showed that there were higher rates of heart disease when people were on a low sodium diet. And the Journal of Internal Medicine also has published findings that there are higher rates of cardiac event and even death on low salt diets. So this whole salt fear has been blown out of proportion, and now we're at a salt deficiency, and it's time to get salt back into our diets. Why? Because salt allows neurons to signal other neurons. So brain cells to signal other brain cells. Without salt, our brain cells can't communicate. So it's essential that we need salt. And again, it's key for that hydrochloric acid production, for protein digestion, even for stimulating and releasing some of the enzymes that are needed, in particular to digest carbs. It regulates our blood volume and our blood pressure and our flexibility of our blood vessels themselves. So we do need salt. What kind of salt? Definitely not your run-of-the-mill bleached white table salt. Invest in Celtic sea salt or Himalayan salt, and a great way to get that in without even thinking about it, first of all, don't be afraid to put it on your food, but also put about a quarter teaspoon with every quart of filtered water that you drink, and you'll be continually replenishing your salt stores. Then I also wanted to talk about calcium. So calcium can be a little bit misunderstood as well as a macro mineral. Our best source of calcium is plants, dark leafy greens in particular. And then we need, along with it, cofactors like vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin K. Guess where you find those? Plants and dark leafy greens. They're a perfect source of calcium, as opposed to a calcium supplement. Calcium supplements are calcium carbonate, and they actually have been shown to be leaching calcium out of our bones in the form of calcium bicarbonate. So we need plant-based calciums, and you can get that from dark leafy greens. Also, oftentimes when somebody's over supplementing with calcium supplements that aren't really readily utilized by the body, and they don't have the trace minerals to absorb and put that calcium to work, then that's when we get excess of calcium in the tissue, in the arteries. We know that as calcification. And so I will put in the best source of dark leafy greens and calcium that I know and that I recommend to every single client, and I purchase for family members that won't purchase it for themselves, is something called Juice Plus. It is an abundance of dark leafy greens in a capsule, juiced, not even really juiced, liquefied is a better word, because in the process they do the entire vegetable, so you get as much of the fiber as you can retain, as much of the nutrient as you can retain, putting the entire vegetable and a little fruit into the liquefaction process, and then dehydrated at a very low temperature, also to preserve the nutrient level, and put into a capsule form so that you can get 26 to like 35 servings of great vegetables each and every day, in addition to those that you eat. Plus, they have all the live enzymes that help you absorb your food even better. So I'm going to put a link for that because it is my #1 supplement recommendation, hands down. All right, so there we've covered a couple macro minerals, our calcium and our salt. Let's talk about a few micros, and then I'm going to close this up with easy tips and things that you can do today to increase your mineral level. So trace or micro minerals, zinc is one of the most common deficiencies that I see. And I know it as soon as I hear somebody tell me, a client tell me that they don't have an appetite or they don't feel like eating breakfast. That is a sign of low zinc. Again, zinc is essential for our hydrochloric acid production, which I'm concentrating a lot today because it is the first step in gut repair. Oftentimes you see these really intense gut protocols that don't start with the first step, which is making sure you have ample hydrochloric acid levels to really bathe your food once it hits the stomach and start breaking it down for absorption. Also, zinc is needed for vitamin A release from the liver. And so zinc is a trace mineral that is very, very common that I see that it's a deficiency. It's also essential for bone and skin integrity, and cofactor for utilizing your vitamin B6 and your magnesium for cell growth and for immune support. And guess what depletes zinc almost more than anything else? It's pretty high on the list, if not #1, that depletes your zinc: stress. So supplement some zinc, but also reduce your stress. Magnesium, another trace mineral that is critically important. There's all kinds of formulations of magnesium out there. Glycinate is the most absorbable. That's the one that I use, and it's what I suggest most often. This can help you with sleep issues. It can help you with regularity, with muscle spasms, but it is also a form, not only is it very absorbable, but I've never seen it cause the loose stool issues that other forms of magnesium and supplementation can cause. So my final recap here. If you've heard me today that your minerals are really your battery for your brain, and you want to start taking some steps right now to make sure you're not mineral deficient, here's some things that you can do. So write these down. #1, dark leafy greens and plants. Essential, best source of mineral. Human being body can't make minerals. We've got to get our dark leafy greens and plants. Have them be organic, of course, and to fill in the gaps, Juice Plus. Most likely you'll need mineral supplementation on top of that because our soil just is not what it used to be. And so it's best to have that customized by your practitioner. I write very specific protocols for my clients, and I suggest that you work with somebody to have that as well, because it's not a one-size-fits-all situation. If you're going to try some things on your own, at least make sure it's an ionic or liquid form of mineral, because that is the formulation that the body can utilize. Next, add that Celtic or Himalayan sea salt to your water and soak in it. Soak in minerals. I spent all day yesterday at a natural mineral hot spring up here in the mountains in Colorado, and I try to do it as often as possible when I'm up here, because literally you're absorbing those minerals in through your skin. So if you have a natural mineral hot spring near you, go to it often. If you don't, plus you get the vitamin D because you're out in the sunshine. If you don't, you can make your own in your bath. You can get magnesium or trace mineral salts and flakes, And even Epsom salts are great for this. So soaking in a mineral bath is a wonderful way to very easily and naturally and pleasurably enhance your mineral levels. And then last tip I have for you is bone broth. Bone broth is the liquid gold of minerals. So incorporate drinking bone broth daily and even multiple times a day. And there's so much you can do with that. You can have it straight and add turmeric and that kind of thing and have it as a warm drink, but you can also incorporate bone broth into your smoothies and into all other kinds of drinks. And I love the Kettle and Fire. It's great if you make it yourself. Also, Kettle and Fire is a really responsible company that sources high quality grass-fed animals and does a really good job of making bone broth, and they have all kinds of recipes of different ways that you can incorporate bone broth into your beverages if you don't like just drinking it as bone broth. I personally love just drinking it as bone broth, but you can try it in many different ways. So there's the key to recharging your mineral levels, which it serves as recharging your battery for your brain and for your entire body. Let me know your takeaways. And again, I will post the link for Juice Plus, the #1 supplement that I recommend for many reasons, but certainly in place of a multivitamin, certainly in place of any calcium supplements that will leach calcium out of your bones. And it's a great source of those minerals we've been talking about. This has been your Vibrant Brain Monday. Have a great day, everybody.